Agrochemicals, Biomagnifications from Chapter 12 Environmental Issues. Let's see the definition of noise pollution. Unwanted or excessive sound that can have deleterious effects on human health and environmental quality is known as noise pollution, or else it can be defined as any disturbing or unwanted noise that interferes or harms humans or wildlife is known as noise pollution. So let's see more about noise pollution. So previously we already learned what is the definition of noise pollution. So we also know what is noise. Noise means any unwanted or undesirable sound that can disrupt one's quality of life is what we call it as noise. So when you have too much of noise in an environment, then we call that as noise pollution. So it is measured in decibels. So let's see the sources of noise pollution. So since you all are living in urban environment, you all must be knowing the sources of air pollutions like vehicles, air horns, the audio video systems that we have in your house, trains, aircraft low flying aircraft like this, and sirens, motors, drillers, and crushers, compressor machines. This kind of compressor machines also create a lot of noise, so you must have seen that in many shops. And crackers, the firecrackers that we use during Diwali time, and explosives, and modern supersonic uh, transport like jets, all this can travel faster than the sound, and since it's produce huge amount of noise. So these are all the common sources of noise pollution. So how far we tolerate the noise pollution? We can tolerate up to 120 decibel. Okay, so according to World Health Organization, it is recognized that noise is a major threat to human as well as all other living organisms that exist in this planet. So let's see the effects of noise pollution. So previously we already learned what is the definition. So let's see the effects of noise pollution. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, so it is clear and it has been confirmed that noise pollution is directly related to the health. Okay. So the if a person is exposed to noise pollution for a prolonged period, say for example, if someone is working in oil mill or rice mill, right? So in those places, it will all noise will always be generated. So a person who works there for minimum 5 or 10 years or 20 years, they will most likely to get diseases such as heart diseases, high blood pressure, stress related illness, sleep disruption due to the person will be hearing the noise for almost 12 hours. So when he gets back from home, the trauma that he has experienced, it will take very long time for him to go back to sleep. So and also I have also seen people who has experienced hearing loss, deafness due to working in such rice mill, because they were not even being provided with any ear muff to protect their ears from the noise. So obviously, these are the efforts that will be created or that will be caused due to the noise pollution. If a person is exposed for a very long time in a working environment, which are prone to high noises. Okay, so again, they will also experience increased stress, tension, nervousness, irritability, anxiety, depression, and panic attack. Sometimes, in some cases, it has been reported that peptic ulcers and memory loss also can happen due to the noise pollution. And severe headache is the common cause due to the noise pollution, because you all must have already experienced it. If you're like if there is any festival nearby home, In our country, it is common practice that we tend to celebrate everything with big loudspeaker with too much of noise. So these are the common reasons for effects of noise pollution, and it also create a threat to marine life. So how it actually affects the marine life? So if you take marine environment in offshore region and all, people do this oil platform. They construct oil platforms, and ships will produce lots of noise. And so this oil platform, and you also have drilling machines, the dredger, it is known as dredger, so that is used to construct the ports. So what happens, they will continuously dig the sand, and during that time it will produce too much of noise. Like this oil platform, this will also create too much of noise inside the ocean. So what happens when too much of noise is being created? Say for example, this is the fishes. So these fishes, like this is known as uh, killer whale, which belongs to dolphin family. So what happens, this will be affected due to the noise which has been created by different ships as well as submarines. So they use sonar for the navigation. So when the machines that we created, when it releases these noises, it will get confused. Either it will get himself killed, or it will lead into some standing of the animals. Like sometimes you might even see many animals being washed ashore. So this happens due to the confusion in the navigation process. This happens because of humans. As we started developing a lot of instruments, we also use sonar for navigation inside the ocean. So this is how noise creates a lot of disturbance to aquatic animals as well as marine animal. And also it threatens, frightens animals. So it actually scares away animals. During our festival, especially Diwali festival, we tend to use a lot of firecrackers, right? So these firecrackers will produce a lot of noise. So the animals and birds that is inhabiting near to a region, they will be affected due to the excessive noise as well as the explosive noise. So how can we control this noise pollution? So the best method is to plant as many trees as possible, and it has been observed and proved that noise pollution can be controlled with the help of plants, as it absorbs the noise and bring down the sounds level. So say for example, if you, I don't know, like is there anyone who's from village from your class? But I am from village, so I find a lot of difference in traveling in a place where it is surrounded by trees on the either side of the road, as well as in Chennai. So, like when you travel, even if there are too much of vehicles, if they produce a lot of noise, that noise will not travel away from the roads, because it will be absorbed by the trees which is presenting either side of the road in the village side. But in Chennai, it's not like that. We have a lot of buildings and a lot of vehicles, so we need to plant more plants to reduce the noise. And also, it would be very good and effective if we just do regular servicing and tuning of automobile engines. All this will efficiently reduce the noise pollution. And people who work in a noisy environment, as I told you, people who work in rice mill or big places where too much of noise has been generated, the work people should be provided with earplugs and earmuff, so that they can prevent the hearing loss, deafness, as well as protect themselves from further health related issues. And keeping our machines by properly lubricating with a lot of oils, and regular servicing also reduces noise level. And we should also implement a lot of rules, and to restrict the use of loudspeaker in crowded areas and public places. So to this is how we can control the noise pollution. So the legal protection which government has implemented to reduce the noise level is Article 48A and Article 51A of the Constitution of India. So we have Noise Pollution Regulation and Control Rules 2000 Act and Tamil Nadu State Environment Policy 2017. So these are some of legal relief from noise pollution. Okay. So and also according to Noise Pollution Regulation and Control Rules 2000, it is only 65 decibels are permissible to for the commercial purpose. Like, so the sound that is generated in many commercial places, like even in industry or big company, they should only it should be the amount of sound that they produce should be within 65 decibel during the daytime, and it should be 55 decibel during the night time. So this is the for some rules which has been implemented by our government of India to reduce the noise level as well as to protect the environment. So let's see about agrochemicals. So let's see. So let's see about agrochemicals. So what are agrochemicals? Nowadays, due to overpopulation as well as the need for the food, it is a fact that farmers and many people who cultivate crops and other vegetation are forced to use these agrochemicals in order to increase the productivity. So these are few agrochemicals, which means these chemicals are used to control the pest as well as to increase their growth, plants growth. Okay, so these are known as agrochemicals. It will be like a hormone which will actually helps to increase the plant growth, as well as some pesticides which will contain a lot of toxic heavy metals and other chemical compounds. Okay, so these agrochemicals becomes very dangerous when we use them in abundant, as well as when we use agrochemicals or pesticide which is actually not properly been identified or properly been introduced by the government. So what happens when you overuse these agrochemicals? After harvesting, what happens? The residues will always be there on the soil. So these residues will again disturb or change the balance of the nutrients that present in the soil. So let's see the effects of agrochemicals to environment as well as to the living organisms. The first thing that it might uh, induce, or it might even responsible for the death of the beneficial bacteria and soil organisms. So remember, in your lowest standard when you are studying ninth standard, you must have studied that in our soil we have lot of bacteria. Even on the roots of these plants we have a lot of beneficial bacteria, right? So these bacteria will have a symbiotic relationship with plants, so they will help in various activities to obtain nutrients. In return they will get food from the plant. So likewise in soil also we have lot of bacteria, so that stabilize and fix the nitrogen, which is an essential compound for the growth of the plant. So all these beneficial bacteria and soil organisms can be killed if we use too much of agrochemicals. So and can cause eutrophication in water bodies. So you already know what is eutrophication because in my previous video I've already taught you what is eutrophication and how it actually happens. So again, I told you how eutrophication happens in the water when we use too much of this agrochemical that contains pesticides or hormones, whatever it is. After harvest, that will be settled on the soil, so it will become a residue, right? So that residue will be washed away during the monsoon and reaches the aquatic environment. It can be a pond, river or sea. So once it reaches the aquatic environment, it will affect the aquatic animals growth and their productivity. Say for example, there are many pesticides which are responsible for the less productivity of the fishes. So lead and other heavy metals which is present in the pesticide, what happens once it has been released released into the water. When a fish is being continuously exposed to that particular pesticide, it will be facing lot of problem like reduced egg production, as well as the egg shells will be very thin, and also they will also get other diseases like a tumor. All these diseases can happen due to the continuous exposure of uh, pesticides or agrochemicals that wash off from the crop or land area. And the pesticide, even if it is in our drinking water in a trace amount, then it is not suitable for the consumption. Again, I told you that when you use too much of pesticide, after harvesting, that pesticide will become residues, right? So that residues will again, due to wind, it will be mixing with the aerosols. You know what are aerosols? Aerosols are the suspended particles which is suspended in the atmosphere, right? So when this particle, which is already toxic, when this is inhaled by the people or animal, what happens? It will create respiratory problems. And when you consume pesticide or a water that contains lead, that will lead to poisoning. Sometimes it might even lead to lethal. So the person or an animal can die because of the consumption of this lead. And also it will have lot of side effects and after effects. And chemicals, many chemicals which are present in agrochemicals are responsible for the skin rashes and irritations of eyes. And many of them are even worse because some of them have been reported. The chemicals that is present in the agrochemicals are responsible for the cancer. Some, even many of them are carcinogenic, right? And they can also trigger hormonal disorder and neurotoxicity. Say for example, the water that we have been drinking for a very long time has this pesticide or lead or heavy metals. What happens? It, even if it is in trace amount, I told you, even if it is in trace amount, it is not suitable for the drinking or consumption. So unknowingly you have been drinking this water for a very long time, so it will just keep on accumulate in your body, and it will lead to the hormonal disorders. Like many people, especially women, experience a lot of hormonal disorder. Due to that, a lot of abortions, sometimes they become sterile, and neurotoxicity also takes place. So the new nerve cells will be dead due to the continuous exposure to the heavy metals or agrochemicals. And beneficial insects and animals also will be affected. As I told, these beneficial insects are very important for the growth of the plant, as well as they pollinate, right? If you take honeybees and all, they are responsible for the pollination of the plants. So when you use too much of agrochemicals, even people are using nowadays hormones to send away the insects. So obviously that will lead to the reduced productivity of the crop field, right? And also these animals as well as these insects can be affected, especially earthworms. So earthworms, you know, they are the significant responsible factor which is helping the soil fertility to the maximum level. But when you use too much of agrochemicals, that will reduce their reproduction process, their productivity too. So again, the soil fertility gets affected. So likewise, there are few chemicals such as DEET and alethrin, which is used in our mosquito coils, right? So this is responsible for the itching, burning, tingling sensations, or numbness. So due to heavy usage of pesticides and herbicides, what happens? It leads to the colony collapse syndrome. So this happens in the honeybees. So remember, the honeybees, as I told you earlier, honeybees are the pollinators. So if this continuously happens, then in future we all might face food scarcity for sure. So let's see about the biomagnification now. So let's see about biomagnification. This has been taught almost many times during many of my live online class. Even in my previous online class, I've explained you clearly what are trophic levels and how the biomagnification is being carried out in the food chain, right? So let's see about the food chain first. So they are the major components of the ecosystem, which we all know it for sure, right? So we have producers and consumers in the trophic level in chain. So here the energy will be flowing or carried out from one trophic level. So this is what we call one trophic level. Here we have primary producer. This is one trophic level, and here you have primary consumer, another trophic level in food chain. Okay. So the energy, the food will be the energy will be transferred from this traffic level to this traffic level by eating or being eaten. Okay, so this is how it is being carried out, and it is been happening for a very long time, and this is how food chain works, right? So during this process, we know that the food will be stored and metabolized. Okay, this is a normal process in every animals and every plants. So, and after that, the food particle which has been consumed, it will be broken down into simpler compound when it is the animal, when the animal is about to die, or if it is going to die, what happens? The organic material of the animal body or plant body will be broken down, and it will again take part into the food chain through another process. Okay, so this is how a natural food chain and substances are being stored, and again eventually it will be degraded, and finally it will take part into the food chain. But this biomagnification happens when we introduce a particle which is not degradable. Okay, a substance or a chemical compound or a heavy metal which cannot be degraded or broken down by any organisms. Instead, what happens? It will be stored inside their body. Again, it either instead of sending it out, instead of going out of from their body through excretory process, it will be stored inside the body of the organisms, and it will be converted or transferred to the another trophic level. So what happens? The concentration which that animal or plant has, it will be continuously increasing once the trophic levels keep on increasing. So let's see with an example which is given in your book. So they have given one example here with DDT and mercury, how it is affecting the aquatic environment, how biomagnification takes place in aquatic environment due to the food chain process. So let's see here. You have water. This example has already been taught you. Anyways, I'll tell you again in simple way. So let's assume this is the concentration of DDT. DDT. Okay. So we have water here. So for example, this DDT, dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane, is being released in the water. Okay, it is a pesticide and insecticide. It has been washed off from the crop field during the monsoon season and reached to this pond. So in this pond we have primary producer, which are phytoplankton. Okay, this image contains both phytoplankton as well as zooplankton. So here let's see here this water will have on the surface these primary producers, which is just like the trees in our place. Okay, so these primary producers will either utilize that, or it will be stored inside the body of the inside the primary or producer, the algae or microalgae organisms. So what happens? It will be stored inside it. Say for example, the concentration of DDT is around 1000 microgram. So in the primary producer of the phytoplankton. So when this phytoplankton will be consumed by the zooplankton, which is otherwise known as primary consumer, the concentration again, because this zooplankton will consume more phytoplankton. So if it consumes around 10 phytoplankton, say for example, so then the concentration from each phytoplankton, each individual phytoplankton, we have around 1000 microgram of DDT. So again, that will be if this zooplankton goes and eat that, 10 phytoplankton, then it will again increase into 10,000. I'm telling this for an example. Okay, so this is how again from this primary consumers, the zooplankton, so these are known as zooplankton, so small fishes and crabs, insects, crabs larvae forms are known as zooplankton. So this again will be eaten by many small fishes. So this 10,000 again it will multiply and it will get stored into the small fishes. Again it just keep on increased. Okay. This is what we call biomagnification. Instead of this DDT material being broken down, it will be stored or changed from one trophic food chain level to another food trophic level. So this is how it creates lot of impact, and sometimes it might even lead to lethal of the organism. So lethal means it will die. Okay, so this is what we call a process known as biomagnification. And also even when we consume this fish, right, so again if this toxic heavy metals are there in the fish, again it will be stored in our body, and finally it will lead to a lot of health related disease. So that's all guys, I hope you all understood. So I'll see you guys in another video with eutrophication and the rest of the chapter from the environmental issues chapter. Take care guys, bye.